Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Jessica Sanderson. I am a Title III EL and immigrant consultant here at KDE. We're just going to go over some things that haven't changed and then a few updates for our data collection and reporting. Oops, one second. Okay. So today, during the presentation, I will be presenting the material, and then we also have Erin and Marjorie who will be here for support and to help field any questions you may have. So thank you to Erin and Marjorie for being here with us today as well. Okay, so data standards and resources. You can reference the KSIS data standards to obtain data elements that are required for state and federal reporting purposes. The English Learner Data Standards is posted on the data standards webpage, as well as the immigrant data standards. Those have recently been updated to include some new kindergarten exit criteria, so you definitely want to take a look at those sometime in the near future. You can also reference KDE's English Learner and Immigrant data collection website for any data collection and reporting timelines and other resources. And then you can reference KDE's English Learner and Immigrant Resources website for any program-related resources. And then one bullet that's not on here is if you need resources for any access testing or language proficiency screeners, you can reference any of those OAA websites or contact Chris Williams. Okay, so we will start with the demographic detail page, and this is required for EL and immigrant reporting. To access this page in Infinite Campus, the path is Census, People, and then you want to click on the Demographic tab. The home primary language, you will choose from an alphabetical list of world languages. The home language is defined as the language that's spoken at home. This information is obtained through the Home Language Survey. In the case of a foreign-born student living in an English-speaking home of his or her adopted family, you're going to choose the student's native language from the home primary language drop list. So you won't choose the language that the family speaks, but what the adopted child first learned. So whatever they put on that home language survey. The home primary language field cannot be blank for an EL student. That will cause you to have a critical error, and then that student will not be included on any of your EL extract or your immigrant extract. The home language survey does not need to be administered when a student transfers from one district to another. So when an EL student transfers, the receiving district should run the data import wizards. These are an extended census. This is the extended census import wizard, and which is via the student records transfer. To obtain the student's original home primary language. For Native American language, if the student's home primary language selection is Native American, then you're going to select that from the drop-down list as well. So just a quick note, when completing those import wizards to receive records from an originating district in the instance that an EL student transfers to your district, you're going to want to ensure that that home language survey is included in the student records. This won't be in Infinite Campus. You may see that the home primary language is listed as a language other than English. You want to check in the student's actual paper EL folder that could be faxed to your district from the originating district. And if that home language survey is not included, then you need to reach out to the originating district to try to locate it before you just administer a new home language survey. And then another note is the student's home primary language should not be updated when a student exits the EL program or you change their status to exit EL. Their primary language, our home primary language, will still reflect whatever they put on that home language survey when they initially enrolled in your district. Okay, so moving on to English Learner Program status. This is only required for EL data recording. So to access this page, you will go to the student information, program participation, English learners, and then the EL tab. So the program status, it must be EL or exited EL with a program exit date of 6/30 of their reporting year to be included in reporting. So if they're still active EL, that means that they have not reached English proficiency on the access test, then they will be listed as active EL. If they have exited by reaching English proficiency on access, then their exit date will reflect that 6/30 of that reporting year. So for instance, if they took access this spring of 2021, then their exit date would reflect, and they did meet English proficiency, their exit date would reflect 6/30/2021. So you do not change the program status or enter a program exit date when a student graduates if they did not reach attainment on the access assessment prior to graduation. Okay, English learner identification. Students are identified as ELs as a result of the KWAPT or the WIDA online screener or access for ELL results. So any kindergarten student who takes the KWAPT is automatically identified as an EL regardless of their score. Any student in grades 1st through 12 scoring below a 4.5 overall composite on the WIDA online screener will be identified as EL. EL students retain their EL program status until they meet the Kentucky's exiting criteria. And for kindergarten, this is the new criteria. It's a 4.5 or higher overall composite proficiency level, and this is going to begin in the 2021 access testing window and beyond. So for grades 1 through 12, it's also the 4.5 or higher overall composite proficiency level, just like it always has been. For students who are taking the alternate access, that score would be a P2. EL services and accommodations. So you can access this page from the Student Information tab, Program Participation, English Learners, EL Services tab. You're, to enter any services and accommodations here, you're going to select the service or accommodation from the drop-down list where the services are provided for you, and then you'll enter a start date as the date the service began. So students must have at least one active EL service to be included in reporting. So for the accommodations tab, you're going to go to Student Information, Program Participation, English Learners, EL Accommodations tab. Again, you'll select the accommodation from the drop-down list that's provided. You're going to enter that start date that the accommodation began. And then just an important note that they must have at least one instructional accommodation to be included in reporting. And then assessment accommodations are required for state testing purposes. So you may not have, some EL students may not have an assessment accommodation and some might. So just on the bottom there in red, I want to really draw attention to this. So the EL services and accommodations should not be end dated when a student transfers from district to district. So if a student is transferring out of your district and they have not reached proficiency on access for English language proficiency, then you will not end date their services when they transfer. And you must have at least one service and accommodation for them to be included in reporting, and then you will not end date those each year. Okay, student records transfer. So when a student is transferring from one district to another, the former or the originating district, when they are preparing for the transfer, will end date the enrollment of the student before releasing the records for all transfer functionality to work correctly. So you're end dating the enrollment. You're not end dating the services and accommodations that are in their EL tabs. The receiving district will obtain the EL records from the originating district, Please do not create a new EL record for incoming students. Instead, you need to import the records from the previous district, and then you can update those as needed. So you'll want to run those import wizards, which is the assessment import wizard, the English learner import wizard, the extended census import wizard, and then for transfer documents, you could look at the English learners, the PEL services, and then EL accommodations. So again, a receiving district who receives a new EL student, do not create a new EL record unless you know that this is a new student to the state. Okay. So this is just an example of those student records transfer import wizards. The ones that you'll need to run are highlighted. That is the English learner or the EL import wizard, the EL services, EL accommodations, extended census import wizard, and then English learner import wizard. Okay. EL program exit. Students who obtain EL proficiency on the 2021 Access EL record, the EL record must be updated as follows. So the program status will change to exited EL. The exit date would be 6/30/2021. And then the services will end date as of 6/30/2021, and the accommodations will end date as of 6/30/2021. Beginning in the testing window of 2021 and beyond, kindergarten students are now eligible to exit the EL program after scoring a 4.5 or higher overall composite proficiency level. Okay. English Learner State Report. To access this state report, you can go to Kentucky State Reporting and English Learners Extract. So when you're running this report, you want to review and resolve any errors that could be produced. So one error could be the record does not have at least one service type that is overlapping the date range specified. Another error would be EL record does not have at least one instructional accommodation or one EL service type. And then another error you may see is the student's primary home language is listed as English. So any of these critical errors that are produced when you're running your extract, if they are not resolved, then these students will not be included in your data reporting. So that means that this will affect your end of year reporting and your allocations for the next year. So you want to make sure that those get resolved. And if you have questions when you're trying to resolve those, you can always reach out to any one of the members of the EL team here at KDE. For warnings, if applicable, you want to review and resolve those. An example of a warning could be the student's primary home language is listed as other. If you have a warning, the student will still be included on your EL record and in your extracts. So, you'll still get your funding for that student and everything will still be counted, but you want to try to resolve those if applicable. So like the student's primary home language is other, you may not be able to resolve that unless you do find their language listed in the drop-down box. So student records with a warning, again, those records will be included in data that is reported. Okay, immigrant data requirements. This is located under student information, general, enrollment, state reporting fields, and then the immigrant checkbox. So when you have a student who meets the definition of an immigrant child or youth, you want to make sure that that immigrant checkbox is selected. Otherwise, they will not be included on your immigrant report. So an immigrant is defined as an individual who is age 3 through 21, was not born in any state in the United States of America, including Puerto Rico, has not been attending one or more U.S. schools for more than 3 full academic years. And this is calculated using the date entered the U.S. school, which is located under Census, People, and the Demographic tab. Okay. Last year, we introduced a Title III immigrant report, and this is located under the Kentucky State Reporting, KDE Reports Title III Immigrant. So the access for this report, it must be granted by the district system administrator, And the purpose of this report is to produce aggregate immigrant data and the supporting student level detail for quality assurance review. The report can be generated by entering a date range on the landing page or selecting a year from the toolbar. Detail report highlights the errors for the students identified as immigrant on the current enrollment, but the date entered U.S. school is greater than 3 years or null. So these errors, they must be resolved in order for the students to be included on your immigrant report. Okay, importance of data accuracy. So we use data for a lot of things. One of those things is determining the Title III EL and immigrant district allocations. So if you're not going in regularly and reviewing your data and correcting any of those errors, then that could affect your district allocations for the following year. We use data for federal reporting mandates, for SEEK funding allocations, and for school report card public reporting. Okay, here's just a quick timeline of our English learner and immigrant data verification. So October 1st through October 30th, districts need to be reviewing their English learner extract and Infinite Campus for federal reporting. So English learner enrolled and served as of October 1. November 1st, KDE will extract the EL data from Infinite Campus for federal reporting. May 1st, the district end-of-year data verification for English learner and immigrant opens. So you will generate those state reports and resolve any errors that you find. June 30th, the district data verification for English learner and immigrant closes, and the immigrant data should be updated and accurate as well in Infinite Campus at that time. After state testing, you will enter program status and program end date as needed for students who have exited the EL program during that academic year. So, we do have some changes this year. So the access testing window was extended due to COVID-19. So as a result of that, the districts will receive their access scores later than usual. So once those scores are available, the district should still enter the program status and program end dates as of 6/30 of 2021 testing year. So even if we don't receive those scores until the end of July, you're still going to enter the exit dates and end date their program services and accommodations as of 6/30, 2021. And then August 1st, we have extended that date a little bit to accommodate for extending the access testing window. On August 1st, we will extract the EL and immigrant data from Infinite Campus for end-of-year reporting. Okay, and then here's a program allocation timeline, and this is the timeline that we review data for allocation purposes. So the second Tuesday in March, excuse me, KDE will extract English learner data from Infinite Campus for preliminary Title III funding allocations. And then in April, the preliminary Title III funding allocations are uploaded into GMAP, and then the Title III intent to participate will open at that time as well. On May 1st, the district data verification for EL and immigrant opens. And then we've extended that data verification period this year since access scores will not be released until later. So that now closes on July 30th for this year. And that's when all of your EL and immigrant data should be updated and complete in Infinite Campus. On August 1st, KDE will extract EL data from Infinite Campus for final Title III and SEEK funding allocations. And then the second Tuesday in October, we will extract immigrant data from Infinite Campus for the immigrant subgrant allocations. Okay, and that's all we have for you today. So if you have any questions after today's presentation, feel free to reach out to me, Erin, or Marjorie at any time.
Okay, we're going to repeat some of this. I don't think anybody heard it before because I think we lost a network connection at KDE. So I'm just going to remind folks that there's some really good reports out here that are offered to help districts look at their data, validate data, make sure it's right. But those reports are only going to be as good as the right people. They're in the right people's hands. So if you're a system administrator, please make sure the folks that are in your schools and districts that need access, that they have a need to know this data, remember the FERPA piece, and if they have that needed that access, that you've granted them access to the reports and you made sure that they are aware of these reports. There is information on most of these reports on the KDE webpage. We have a list of all of our reports, and a lot of those have quick reference cards attached to them for additional detail. If you just search KSIS, KSIS, other on the KDE webpage, that should come up, and there's a whole list of reports, not just in this area, but all of our reports are there. So take a look at that. If you're on today and you followed along in this presentation and you've gone out on campus to look to see if you have access to these reports, and you're like, well, they're not even out here. They are out there, but somebody needs to give you access to them. So just ask your system administrator to give you access to the reports that you need so that you can make sure that you're helping to ensure data quality for your school or your district.